Hey, what's going on, weavers? Tim here again, and in today's video we are looking at 7 common mistakes that beginner paracordists make. Well, actually these are 7 mistakes that I've made in the past as a beginner, and perhaps some of you have done the same, and if you haven't, hopefully this video will prevent you from making them. That being said, let's get into it. Number 1, running out of paracord or not using enough. So I know we try our best to use just the right amount of paracord with the least amount of waste as possible. However, if you're doing a bracelet for the first time, it's a little tough to know the precise amount. I try my best to list the approximate amount of cord I use in my videos, but it can vary greatly depending on tying technique as well as the manufacturer of the paracord. So I personally don't mind a bit of wastage. It's worth not having to redo a project or graft on extra cord and have it look not so great. If you're not sure about how much paracord you'll need for a pattern and you have some scraps available, you can always take those scraps that are at least 1 or 2 feet long and tie a small section of the weave until you run out. Then you'll know how much weave is produced by that 1 or 2 feet. It's not the perfect method, but it'll give you a ballpark figure of how much you might need. Lastly, paracord is relatively inexpensive, so if you do end up with some waste scraps, you can always use them for zipper pulls or other small projects. Number 2, cutting excess paracord ends too short or too long. When we finish our projects, we have to cut the excess while leaving a little to melt and press down on so that it mushrooms out and locks the cord in. Leave too much and you're going to get a big glob of nasty melted cord. Too little and you risk melting the surrounding cord and not having a clean finish. So what I do is cut my cord and leave about this much, which is roughly 3 to 4 millimeters. It's not really an amount you'll measure, you're just going to have to get a feel for it as you make paracord projects. And ideally, this is what you want your melted ends to look like. Number 3, making your bracelet too small. So if you have a 7-inch wrist and you're making a paracord bracelet, you just have to make the paracord bracelet 7 inches long, right? Nope, wrong. This is a mistake I learned after making my first King COBRA bracelet, and you'll find it more common with thicker weaves. If a paracord bracelet is on the thicker side, you'll have to compensate by adding length to it, as the thickness of the bracelet makes the inner circumference smaller. This is probably one of the hardest things to learn. Paracord Guild has a great blog post about sizing, and for me to explain fully, it is a completely separate video on its own, which I'll do at a later date. But there does exist a formula to help you calculate length versus thickness, so please check that blog post out. I'll have it linked in the description box down below. Number 4, making your loop clasp too small for your knot. I've done this a couple times early in my paracording journey. So always make sure when doing knot and loop bracelets that your top loop is large enough for your diamond knot or whichever stopper knot you're using. If the loop is too large, the knot could slip out when it's being worn if not sized properly. So I always try to aim for about a 1/2 inch loop when using the diamond knot, as it's large enough to get the diamond knot through but not too large so that the knot will slip out on its own. Again, one of those things that gets easier with experience. And number 5, joining 2 different types of paracord together, mainly nylon and polyester paracord. For the longest time as a beginner, I would sometimes try to join polyester and nylon paracord together by melting it, and it would always come apart and not join. So unfortunately, joining these 2 differing materials just doesn't work. The only way to join polyester and nylon is via the Manny method. But to be honest, I always prefer using nylon paracord as it's more flexible, smoother feeling, and overall just a better option to work with. Number 6, tying the COBRA knot improperly. This is a very common mistake that happens to beginners when doing the COBRA knot bracelet for the first time, especially when using a single color. If you don't continually lead with the same strand on the front, you'll get knots that look off as you are doing the DNA COBRA knot mixed in with the regular COBRA knot. An easy way to remember is to always cross over the side on the front that has the vertical knot on that same side. Also, if you practice with 2 colors, you'll see right away when you don't lead with the proper strand. And finally, number 7, ending up with 2 of the same buckles on the ends of a bracelet. This mistake I've only made once because it was so infuriating when I realized what I did that I vowed never to make that mistake again. But anyhow, if you do use buckles, make sure you pay attention and always ensure that you have a male and female end on your bracelet and not two of the same. So there we go, 7 mistakes that I made as a beginner paracordist. Hopefully you didn't make any of these, but if you did, let me know. And also, if you have some beginner mistakes that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully you didn't make any of these, but if you did, let me know. And also, if you have some beginner mistakes that I didn't mention, which I'm sure there are others, let me know in the comments down below. That being said, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you want access to exclusive tutorials as well as our Discord server, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video cards, as well as down below. You can join for as little as $3 a month. You can also support this channel by liking the video and commenting. Also, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.